Hello. Thank you for joining. This is Lunch Learn Decisions. We're probably going to start here in about 12:04, 12:05, somewhere in that realm. So if you are watching this later on YouTube or something, feel free to skip ahead because, again, you're going to kind of have some dull audio and video for the first 2 to 3 minutes. So we will get started here just shortly. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you guys for joining. We will get started here in just a few moments, few minutes. We'll just kind of give folks a moment to kind of pile in and we'll get started. So thank you. And if you do have questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat. We can start putting some eyes on them. It's a pleasure. My name is Robert. I'll go ahead and add that to the kind of list here. But if you need any help, like I said, we can start putting some eyes on it. We'll probably get fully started here around 12:03, 12:04 Eastern Standard Time. So 2 to 3 minutes. We'll get started. If you're just here just to listen in, that's totally fine too. I just will say if you have questions or you want some insight on something, the chat's a good place for it. The QA is a good place for it, but we can start putting some eyes on it a little bit ahead of time. So if you do have a question, feel free to put it in the chat. And if you don't, and you're just here to learn or lunch, both of those would be a good option for you. All right, we'll get started here in about a minute. So again, if you are just joining, feel free, chat, Q&A, any type of question. But if you're just here to hang out and listen in, that's fine as well. We'll get started here in about, I don't know, 60 seconds or something like that. I'll kind of start talking. All right, we're 12:04, so I'm just going to start talking. Welcome in. My name is Robert. I'm one of the trainers here. Just some of the stuff on the screen. Top right is the YouTube channel in which we post all of the um, videos for these lunch and learns. So if you ever want to go back and watch an old one, you just have time like that on your hands, feel free. We also put content on there that is based around these lunch and learns. So if we find ourselves answering similar questions on lunch and learns, we'll usually make a video around that content as well. I'll show some of that here in a second. And on the bottom right, we have this Decision Solutions Marketplace. I know it's kind of probably hard to scan it from your computer, but if you just Google any of these terms, they will come up. So we'll take a quick look at some of that stuff really quick, just because it is important. So Decision Solutions Marketplace, if you just Google that, it will show up. These are pre-built out accelerators to kind of reduce some of the friction of building. So if you know you're going to be building something in this world, right? A loan calculator, a scorecard, something, a ticketing system, support inquiry, you name it. You click on one of these, it'll give you information around what it is comes with. So it's kind of like a zip that you can insert into decisions and get stuff to start building and reduce that friction to deployment. So like this ticketing system comes with assignments, dashboards, email forms, workflows, rules, and scheduled jobs, which can all be um, added to kind of streamline that process. And we use an internal ticketing system. This is probably built off of ours inside the decisions, and we use something just like this all of the time here in this building. We also have events, and we have some folks in the room that are newer to the lunch and learn process, but just be aware that we do have events. We have one going on right now in Denver, Colorado. I think maybe it ended yesterday. Yeah, today's Thursday, so we had one here for Denver yesterday. But we have some coming up. These are free. You just got to get yourself here and find a place to sleep. There's nowhere to sleep in the office, but here in Virginia Beach, we have two sessions, and they are built around basics and advanced. So you can sign up. We have free sessions. We talk to your organization and come on down to the building here in Virginia Beach. We also have one hosted by one of our partners in Singapore if you are on that side of the globe. We also have a webinar coming up on July 31st for healthcare. This is one that I know that they've been working diligently on. We have people that are in the industry that are using decisions that are going to talk about how they use it, and it's really well built out and it's based around rules engines for the healthcare system, and how they use I guess, within the University of Minnesota or some capacity like that. Um, but we have two folks that are actually deploying decisions in their organization that will be talking in this webinar. These also get posted to YouTube. So they're actually on a different channel, which can be a little bit confusing, but um, we have our decision support channel, which is what I was talking about earlier, in which we have all the lunch and learns posted, but then we also say, hey, we get common questions on different types of data structures, or hey, what's up with the dependencies issue in version 9, or not issue, but paradigm shift where things have changed. We make videos around that content if we are getting questions somewhat regularly. So the difference in refreshing events. If you ever want to watch back some of those webinars, that's just on the Decisions YouTube channel itself. So if you type in Decisions Automation or Decisions, it's at Decisions on YouTube. That's where we would post all of those webinars. So we've done webinars on rules engines, and you can kind of scroll through here and read. I'm not going to read them all out to you, but find something that might be relevant to you, and it has information um, on how to implement decisions based on what you have. So again, all these with these blue, nice tile headers. These are all webinars we've done in the past, and we have a webinar, I would say probably about every other week on something. So those are just great resources to know. I guess the last resource I will show you, we talked about it 2 days ago, but I'll just give it a quick one. Some of the stuff is a little bit from older iterations of decisions, but it can still really help you. On our documentation page, we have an example lab. So if you go through documentation, documentation.decisions.com, and you look for the example lab, there are just stuff that you can download you can import into a decisions instance and figure out, kind of deconstruct how they were built. So how can we populate a chart using a flow? And at the bottom of all these, there's a zip that you can import into your decisions instance to get that information. So dynamically changing tile colors based on if something happens. Again, you can kind of export this, import it, and kind of mess around with how those things got built out. And as you can see, there's just lots and lots and lots of builds. And every one of these Google Maps integration has a zip. So if you wanted to mess around with that, that is another great place to learn. So we kind of talked about quite a bit of resources so far. Uh, at Marketplace, webinars, um, decisions, submersive events, as well as the example lab. So if you have any specific questions and you want to learn about anything specific, feel free to put it in the chat or the QA, and I can kind of talk about those things. And if you don't, I'll just do some kind of navigating and exploring. Got to think of something fun to, not fun, but something unique that I don't always go to. Um, but if you have anything, again, feel free to put it in the chat or QA, and I can kind of work through prompts or get some guidance. If not, I will just kind of bounce around a little bit. We got something. Let's see. Chat. Did you get my pre-submitted question from yesterday? Let's look, man. Let me see. Tyson. Apologies on that. Um, can you briefly navigate back to the yeah. And I'll put that in the chat for you as well. There, you're good. Sent in late yesterday. So I would imagine that if you apologies, Tyson. Um, I have it pulled up. Jeremy in the background is looking for it. I have it pulled up, but I don't see it on my end. Did you send it to Courtney by any chance, or who did you send the question to, Tyson? And I can maybe find it. Or if you don't mind, I can unmute you and you can gladly I'll unmute you if you want to speak it into existence rather than typing it into existence. But just for my knowledge, where did you submit it at?
Yeah, when I registered for the Lunch and Learn, I just
Hmm.
threw it in there.
Let's see,
I don't know if
Tyson.
anyone gets alerted to that. It's just looking for an example of the step join types list mapping step. We spent probably about 2 hours yesterday trying to get it to run based off the documentation. We just can't seem to get it to go, but it looks like it's trying to perform an inner join, and we would love that functionality.
Yeah, I do see it now that you said that. I don't know whether it's sorted alphabetically because just for transparency, let me hide this column so you don't see people's emails. Um, yeah, I did get it. Apologies. Tyson Hamlin right there, looking for ways. Oh, that's a scheduled job after scheduled job.
That one's
I'm not
old.
sure. Oh, this is an old one. Yeah. Okay. Apologies, man.
There you
Um,
go.
can you say what you would like again by any chance?
It's the step is called join types list mapping step.
Okay. Join types list. And then what was the functionality that you wanted? Join type.
Essentially, yeah, so we have a list of one object,
Okay.
and then we get a second object coming in, and they have a foreign key, right? They use a number in both objects that we're trying to populate the item, some data in list A with data from list B based off of that foreign key.
Let's see
And it
here.
seems that's like when we're reading the documentation, it's like exactly like what we're trying to do or need it to do. I just can't seem to get it to work.
Yeah, let's see here. Join list type mapping. Do we host your decisions instance or or is it
We are
self-hosted?
self-hosted.
Okay. I'll say if we host it, it's a little bit, we have a little more self-hosted. Okay. All right, let's mess around, man. Let's see if we can just troubleshoot it together here. I appreciate the question. See if we can figure it out. You're probably in version 8, I'd imagine. Do you know? Are
Yeah,
you in?
version 8, almost to version 9. We're getting close. Hopefully by
Okay.
the end of the August.
I'll go ahead and mess around in version 8 then. And those lists, where are they coming from? Like a
Database calls, well, API
database. Okay.
calls. Yeah,
API. Okay.
they're internal objects. Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's see if we can. Trying to think of the quickest way to set that up. And is that a step that you found in the toolbox, or can I search for it?
Yeah. Yep. Join type list. I think it's types. You got it. Yeah, you're good.
This is probably the subflow. If I'm guessing, this is yeah, that's the name
Oh, okay.
subflow. Joined, join
Join
type,
types. Yeah.
plural. I saw it pop up. All right, so then we're getting data from we're getting data from an API call. Let me think if I have one set up already. Takes two. So you said you looked at this documentation already. I'm just going to kind of do a quick poke one over because again, this is not a step I'm super familiar with, but give it a quick little read. Thank you in the chat for that, by the way, Jasmine. List of objects. Input list. All objects from this list will be returned in the result set. I might just do a create data rather than doing an API. You said the keys is where you're having problems though?
I mean, it would output all the items in list A, but it won't populate the data from the list mapping that we've done from list B. And create data is just fine, right? Like you just need
Yeah,
two
great. Yeah.
objects that share a key.
And again, I might be off. Feel free to give me any level of insight, or if anyone else in the chat has any insight, feel free on this
I
side of the
think
line.
you'll
Yeah.
probably need two objects in your list B there, one for the identifier and then one to do an output on. You need two elements.
So the
So like
second
data,
one,
so your type would be like data pair or something.
and this would be you said an identifier.
Yeah, so in the data pair, yeah, just so the list A contains a bunch of elements. One of the elements it contains is also contained in list B as
Okay.
an element, and then we're trying to populate data from list B's object to list A's object. So you need the type to be a little, at least have two entries so that you can have the foreign key that needs to link and then the data to try and move over, if that makes sense.
It is loosely making sense. This is just, let me think here. So I would need that same identifier over here.
Yeah, but I think it has to be in the same object because you can only, like, list A is the type would probably need to be a data pair or something that has multiple items that can be set.
I'm just going to draw on the screen here for a second. So just for clarity, we have list A, list B, and there are, I'm trying to think of that, X, Y, Z, and then this one has something along the lines of A, X, and B.
Yes. And then where X matches, we want Y to be set to A or A to be pushed into the Y.
Okay, so when there is a match, we want to match this to this, and we want this to go to here, basically,
Yeah,
or
that's perfect. Yep, just like that.
all right, let's think. Let's go ahead and just start connecting things. See if anything inspiring comes up in my brain. So these would have to be select one property from data A and data B. They'll be used to match items from list A to list B. So it has to be a composite type.
Correct. Yeah, sorry, that's what I was trying to get at with the
Yeah.
data pair.
Okay. All right. Well, I can just do it quick. probably
Yeah, like we would want to talk them into purchase. Like that should be upsell for this.
and then the next one I'll do like X B Z or something. So then at least we can have some because I have a feeling that if I tried to just continue to go on the route I was going, it would I'd get so confused about what is what. It's nice to have things labeled for me. So on this one we'll call it list B and we'll do X, B, and Z kind of drawn out, kind of something down here. I'll clear that drawing out. Clear all drawings. All right, so we're in there. List A, B, Z. Look at all these flows. All right, almost there, I think. Again, apologies on this build out here. This is kind of taking. Nope, we guess builder. Do we have it as a list? I guess it does. It would technically need to be on a list, huh? We can build data here. Constant. And again, if I'm way off, feel free just to tell me I'm not even walking in the right direction.
Now this is very similar. I mean, ours, of course, were objects coming from
Yeah.
a database, and you're having to do all the fun stuff.
What's a fruit with a C? It's like a Jeopardy game. A fruit with a C. Cantaloupe. And we'll save that. And then on this, we can just do a similar process here. I'll go ahead and build an array. Build data. Banana. Constant. X-ray. Constant. Zebra. All right. We're trying to match input property B to characters, I'd imagine. So the list of A and the output type, what are you outputting that data as a whole new list altogether?
It's we've tried both a new object and we've also done a new list of list type A.
New list type A. Could we do a change value and
Possibly.
overwrite it? I'm gonna a little esoteric here. So then our input here, we can select from flow probably. List A for uh, once you learn list A is the type that we're trying to find here. All right, we'll just do it that way. Let's just see what happens here, man. I know this is not going to work or do anything, but I just want to see what the debug data looks like. Yeah, that's fine. Cannot find the properties to match list A and list B. The properties should be named B and chars for type A and type B, respectively. The properties should be named. Did I match these up? Are they both lists? Yep. I'm gonna look at that input output one more time. I know we're not getting anything out of it, but
I think it's on the join. I think you might have the list B map might need to be updated on the next one in the next step.
uh-huh.
You have input match A is B and then characters for B. I think you want to select B, the one down below. So B there, and then in the next list, that should.
Oh, I feel like I didn't get that option earlier. I feel like it
Yeah,
only
that was
gave me.
weird. You did not for sure, but
Okay. Now let's check and see. It might still error out, but at least we're getting something. Output's null.
so I think if you go in into that step and then to the item mapper, the idea being like so you can build it and then you can say, oh, take input A data, input B data, and map out information. The input steps down below of the matches that it finds.
Down here.
Yeah. It's like if we mapped A from or yeah, A to A, B to B, and then go to input
It'd be
B
the
and
same thing.
map Z to A or something. Or Z
B
to
to
C. Yeah, like that. That we're reading one object from A and two from B is what we would expect to see. And I would look for this to work when you run it. So that's good. So now why isn't ours mapping?
I'm trying to guess if it has something to do with. I mean, again, this is probably, let's see if anybody in the chat's got a insight. Sometimes there's people that have done stuff similar. Nope. Um, so just for full transparency,
Actually,
yeah, go ahead.
did we map A? What is A mapped to? Maybe let's not change value. Maybe let's just put it out as its own object.
So rename it and call it
Yeah, just rename it just to
list C kind of thing.
yeah, let's see. Sounds great.
That's a It is a cool step. I've never used it
Yeah,
before.
we're excited to use it. It'll save us quite a few times where we're like looping through an object to update from one object to another. So it's getting us X-ray, banana, zebra. Did we update the output A to be from our second list instead of from apples?
Can you say it again? Apologies.
Sorry, back into the join type, the list mapping.
Yep.
The item mapper, if you go pop into there. Can you map from input A?
Yeah, the
Map
same.
A to A? That'd be great.
And just hit OK and try it.
Yeah, and then hit OK and try again for me. And then are list A and list B the same object type?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, same object type. They're all strings, if that's what you're asking.
More like, are they the same? We'll look at that in just a second. Where you?
We'll just see what we get.
Yeah. So yeah, yours is mapping just fine. Interesting.
So this is the functionality that you wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Where we've matched between two objects the word banana. We've pulled in data from list A and data from list C or list B to make it list C.
Does your data structure the API? Is it are there children underneath that parent that are also complex types? Like, is it like a complex type within a complex type within a complex type?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty A pretty complex type.
Yeah. That would be my first guess is there's some if there's some type of mapping issue there. If we were hosting it, I would say I still probably will say if you haven't already submitted a support ticket, see if because they'll have more time to kind of do some research and do some build outs. But
For sure.
if you're hosting it, it's hard for us to look at your actual flow, um, and mess with it with you. Um, but I would say still probably some support ticket. I mean, my first suggestion would be if we know that this mapping works correct and you're getting from some type of API, and this is a graphics issue. Sorry, I'm using a training container on a web instance here. Um, what was the name of this thing? Let's type mapping. Um, if this is however you're fetching the data or some type of API call, maybe still just try putting a create data step going from here. You said you're iterating through it.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do, right? It's a list of composite data, and we need like three fields off of one of the items and combine it with the other field. So it's not as simple as just a normal like list mapping step because
Right.
it's yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Are you able to just export that flow for me and kick it over and I'll keep
Yeah,
it
I'd
as a
love
good
to, man.
example?
No
That'd
problem
be
at all, dude.
amazing.
No
Thanks for
problem at
taking
all.
the time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And again, sorry I couldn't give you insight, but at least we know that functionally it works. It's just now it's a matter of just kind of pulling the knobs and levers to get it to actually work with your complex structure,
Yeah.
or that API hesitation. But I will gladly bounce this to you. Let me think about how I should export this with all the stuff I need. I'll do it.
If it doesn't work, it's
I'll do it right after the lunch and learn just so
cool.
I'll make a new project and I'll merge those data these data structures into a new project and then do that as well and then I'll export the whole project in totality. That's
Cool.
the
That'd be amazing.
cleanest way to do it. No problem, man. Thank you for the question and all that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of work towards the next one and thank you guys again for all your patience and hey, we're all lunching and learning here, even me, which is my favorite kind of lunch and learn. I'm using so Smith, hey, I know we've chatted before about S3 and I know you've talked with Jared as well. I'll unmute you, but I'll read the question out loud for everybody in case they want to hear it. I'm using a version 9. I had a question on the S3 file upload. I'm creating an Excel file and storing on the server. I'm trying to upload the file to S3 and it errors at the upload to S3 step. Should I use the file name from the output? I can upload files to S3 when I specify the name explicitly. What am I doing wrong? Okay, so I'm using version 9. I had a question on the S3 file upload. I'm creating an Excel file and storing on the server. Okay, so thing one, we're going. Let me do my drawing game again here. I think that's the best for me. We're going. We have an S3 file, uh, and you're trying to store it
Uh,
to a server.
s- Sorry.
Hey,
Actually, we have an Excel file.
okay.
Hey,
Oh, Excel. Okay, let's get rid of this number.
and yeah, any file. I here for test. I'm creating an Excel file,
Yeah.
and I'm just storing it on the server, on some particular path on the server, and then all I'm interested is uploading this file to S3. I know the S3 connection, all that is working great. We can upload a file and those kind of things. But when I explicitly create a file like this and try to upload it to S3, I want the output file name to be what I've created and not explicitly specify a name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the path and things like that. But unless I do that, it doesn't seem to take the upload it to S3.
So if you write that file name in as a constant, it will work. But if you're trying to populate
Correct.
dynamically, okay.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to ask is like, I know we to create a file and all we use that URLs and stuff like that, right? So should I use that thing? I'm using the file name, not using the URL or anything when I'm trying to upload the S3. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
That is a
Or should
good
I use from the
question.
path or the URL?
I would, and this is guessing is definitely the right word to use. I would get if I was in your position and
Mm-hmm,
I know that if I write the name as a constant and it works,
mm-hmm.
um, have you tried for that field? I don't think I think I do actually have S3. Let's see, is it under one of these?
It'll be under integration,
And then is it
Amazon,
Amazon? Yeah,
AWS. Yeah,
S3. And you're going to be doing which
yeah.
of these? Put file in S3.
I used, yeah, from file location. That's what I used. I just created, I mean, what I'm trying to do as a test is create a Excel file and then save it in
So
a path and then try to upload it.
which field are you putting when it does work? Which field are you putting that file name in?
File name, file name.
File name.
Yeah, the file name. Yeah,
Oh, file name store. Have you tried
yeah.
doing any of these?
Let me see on my, let me make it bigger.
Because
I,
what you can do,
mhm,
what my initial thought is, if we know that we have a functioning process that works with a constant, so we know that it's not a connection issue, like we can get it to work in some capacity, but we just can't get the file name. If you use like merge plain text or something along those lines for this field,
ye-
show editor, you can pull
how would
out,
merge?
you could pull out that file name. So like as an
Okay.
example here,
Mm-hmm.
I might have to find a list files and directory or something. So what I'll do is give me one moment to find a
Sure.
sorry about that. Performance training.
All right.
Uh copy as path. So something along the lines of I had too many quotation marks, I think. Yep, that's it. Um I know that this will error out on S3, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay, cool. So my initial thought is I just did this to get these names of these files off of
Sure.
my desktop folder, just so we can have a file
Mm-hmm.
name. My initial thought is on if you go to that file name, what is it? File name to submit, maybe file name to store, and use
Mm-hmm.
like a merge plain text, and then go to show editor.
Okay.
Underneath these, let's think here, because I do something similar in another um project. Let me think about how do I get the file list files and directory. I don't want all items as an array. I don't want the first. But so like let me go back to another let me go to another flow and figure out how I populated that file name. Give me one moment here. It's in that
Mm-hmm.
one. Flows. It's this one. Selected file to watermark. Where am I getting that out of? Selected file to watermark. So that's what file data maybe. Okay, so file data. Yeah, so let's go back. I'm just going to do a create data instead and build it that way. rather than fetching the files off my desktop, because in that S3 file, is that file data?
Yeah, that's fine. There's data in the file. Yes, it can be for a test. I just created one Excel. Yes, it could be anything. It doesn't matter what notepad or anything. But I just did Excel for.
So let's say this is my hypothetical S3 file. If it's file data,
Mm-hmm.
you should be able to on your build data, like within file data, there's always the property of file name, and I can say, okay, my constant, I'll make this file name 725 S3 or something along those lines. And again, this is kind of an empty file, but we're just talking about file name here. When you go through and if you use like a merge plain text or something along those lines on show editor, now with this file data shows up,
Mm-hmm.
again, this is my hypothetical, you can populate down beneath it and go to file name, and it will auto populate that dynamically based on the
Okay.
file that goes through it. So you don't have to map it in as a constant. So again, this is not
Okay.
going to work, but just so I can show you
Sure.
that on this input, it's getting that file name
Okay.
on that particular step. So you can map it in dynamically and you're not going to worry about particular typos. But that'd be if you know that you have if you know that you have, sorry, Marty in the chat. I put it to the hosts and not you. I'll send that to you here, buddy. Sorry about that, man. That's the link right there. And if you need more, Martin, I can definitely help you out. But that would be my first. If you know that you have a function that's working and you know that that
Mm-hmm.
it does work and can connect, it has to be from that file name. And if you know that that file name, because you map it in as a constant, is the right version to do, and you wanted to do something more dynamically where you're not going and mapping a constant every time, you can build it dynamically based on building data off of that file, or not building data, but exploring the data underneath that file data, because
Okay.
file data will always have file name as a type.
I can try that merge and see how it goes.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Apologies if that's not very
Okay.
thorough, but I don't have a ton of familiarity with S3 either. Any other questions in the chat? Anything
No
else I
worries.
can?
I can try that and see.
Yeah, like
Thank you.
the build, the build, it's merge plain text would be your option.
Sure. Sure. I'll
Any
try
other
that. Thank you.
questions? Yeah, no, thank you. Thank everybody for the questions. This has been nice. Time's been flying by. Any other questions that we have in the chat, or anything else I can take a look at? Or if anyone's got any insight on any of the previous questions, I will gladly kind of cover some of that stuff. Let's see here. Going once. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this and then delete it, just so we have a working concept. Cool. Yeah. I appreciate everybody for coming by. We kind of covered a lot of ground here today. I learned a bunch of stuff, and I think hopefully you did as well. We talked about, the list type mapping, some merge plain text, file data, and then all the decisions events we do, and some resources. So unless anyone has any questions, which I will gladly answer, I'll probably go ahead and start ending the session just so I can get it on YouTube and so I can get that project bounced out for Tyson. But does anybody have any more questions for me? I will gladly give you some insight. All right. I'm going to go ahead and call a session. I appreciate everyone for joining. We are running it back next week on Monday. We did not have these on Friday, but thank you all for joining. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to email training@decisions.com or support@decisions.com, and you can get resources from either or both of us. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you guys next week.